Hi guys, Warren Frost here, the real Warren Frost, not the other Warren. And I hope you all have a great evening this evening. And to Percy, hi Percy. I started in, what was it, A1, the Latin class. And that was in 1969. I was a little bright-eyed and bushy-tailed 12-year-old when I started. And always stayed like 1 year behind everyone, it seemed to me. When I matriculated, I was only 17. To Baden's disgust, I was given a big bike license by mistake. So the day I arrived on my what I think I had a 125 or something, and he immediately told me, "You don't come to school on that again." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, I know that you're not 18." I said, "Ah, but I've got a license." So there it stood, 02. Yeah, so that was my start. I was quite surprised by the little test we had to write first day or so. Orientation of the school, they asked us, where's this clock and where's the memorial quad? And do you not remember that? And there was one of those nine square like quizzes, how to fit the numbers 1 to 9 into the 9 squares in such a way that every row or diagonal came or column came to 15. And I immediately realized, but hang on, if 5 isn't in the middle, this is never going to work. And then 1 and 9, 15, no other option is going to work. So yeah, I just built it around 5 in the middle, and apparently I finished it quickly. Yeah, so that was my first couple of days at SACS. Newcomer, not from the junior school, an outlier who basically had decided in Standard 3 to mind my own business and not get noticed. Mediocrity was my claim to fame. I think I went to a school closer to home, Claremont Public School. I lived in the lower part of New Orleans, not the upper part like you. I don't. Yeah, yes. From Standard 3, I started to spend a lot of time alone, and didn't want to socialize. I suppose encyclopedias became my after school activity, and that taught me quite a lot about a lot of shit, or a little bit about a lot of stuff. But what it did make me was less than perfectly sociable. So from my perspective, well, I got through 5 years of matric without most people, I don't think, know my name. I certainly knew very few people's names. Just didn't get them. I'm terrible with names, even today. So yeah, if you're not important in my life, I'm afraid, don't ask me what's my name, because I'll tell you I don't know. Blatantly honest, harshly honest maybe, but high in integrity.
What does that mean?
To me, I do what I say, and if I say I'm going to do it, I will. Generally, in the world out there, yes, I do. People talk shit, they lie. They're not driven by integrity. They're driven by what they perceive will be the best thing to say or do in any circumstance, which will give them the best outcome, whether or not it's the truth or their core value. Yeah, I think a word might be introverted, but I'm not actually introverted. In where I feel I'm in a safe environment, I'm the monkey. I'm extroverted, and I joke and I talk a lot and so on. But at school, I think I was extremely invisible, acted like a ghost, I think. As I say, I had a lot of snubbers, but very few friends. Yeah, I was seriously snubbed by most of my classmates. Bought my lunch in the canteen, in the tuck shop. Nobody stands out. My cousin was at school with me. He was a year below me. My neighbor was at school with me. There's a little bugger story. Guy moves in next door. My best friend since childhood, or since birth, Wendy Thompson, moved away with her family. They'd outgrown their house. They were of the type of person that was instructed by their religious leader not to use any kind of contraceptive. and they were spewing out another little offspring every 2 years or so. So yeah, Wendy was about 10 months older than me. Off they went, disappeared to Plumstead, which was on a different planet, as far as I was concerned. And in March, this tiny little fella, Peter Whitelaw, and tried to befriend him. So I asked him, where are you going to school? And he said, no, SACS. I said, oh, wow. It was the December holidays of 1968. So just before I joined. And I said, oh, that's lekker. I'm also going to SACS. What's are you in the juniors? Because he was quite physically quite small. If you recall, Peter Whitelaw was a small chap. I asked him, what standard are you in, the high school or the junior school? He said, no, I'm in the high school. I said, well, I'm also starting. So when's your birthday? Same day as me. He moved in, chased away my best friend, and then it is the same day as me. And then he really shocked he was going into 7 while I was going into 6. So any case, he was a year ahead of me, although he was the same age as me, literally almost to the hour. So yeah, I spent time with Peter sometimes. We were friends on home turf, certainly. I think he found it slightly infra-dig to deal with a standard 6 boy when he was in standard 7. And then my cousin was a year behind me. But yeah, I didn't play sport very much. I'm not well adapted to sport, unlike Peter Kirsten. Give him something to hit a ball with and he'll be first class. So
How did that make you feel?
I was normally didn't give a shit. I played when I want. Well, I played because it was sometimes nice. And I don't know. I played D team once or twice. I played for a E team, a C team, rugby. Then didn't play cricket. I was scared of getting hit by that hard ball. Didn't play. I've never been too hard on sport. Since school, I played motor golf, but certainly didn't win any PGA tournaments. What else? Well, from a school performance, mediocrity was my goal. I would, at any test that I was asked to do, I would establish when I've passed and stop writing. I didn't want to stand out. I didn't care to stand out. So that was a feature right through university. Sit there and I'd write for an hour for a 3-hour paper and then start adding up what I thought I'd got. And when I got to 60%, then I just hand my stuff in and go home. I didn't want to stand out. I don't know if I could have done better if I really tried hard at sport. Maybe I could have, but didn't give a shit. I remember one unique story. The only time my name was mentioned in assembly was the Monday after our teams were all sent off to go get buggered up by the people at Pole Gym, and I was made reserve for the C team. I think it was probably under 14 or something, maybe under 15. I think by 15 I was playing hockey. But I didn't go. I chose not to go. So myself and half of the rest of the team apparently all had the same plan. We're not going. I think we lost about 133 or something like that. Any case, so the ones that were in the team officially, got invited to go and speak to Whiteford, and myself and 2 of the other reserves were chastised. And then he came up with, I think we'll have to put frost on ice. A little saying that I never forgot. But I never ever got caned at high school. Never attracted that kind of attention either. Yeah, I think I did talk myself out of it once or twice. But I never actually got in junior school. Standard 3 was a nightmare. I got caned every Wednesday when it was spelling test day. So I just started to not be there for the spelling test. Forged my mom's signature on doctor's notes, and I have to go to the dentist, I have to go to the doctor, I have to go for a pedicure, whatever I thought of. I just wouldn't be there for the spelling test time. Silly teacher used to give me the words in advance, and I still couldn't spell them.
This one,
yeah, Johnny I sort of considered him a friend, I suppose. Sometimes we'd sit at lunchtime and chat. Um, yeah, he was one of the few people that was aware that my dad died during Standard 6. Yeah, my dad was 56. Yeah, my dad was 56 when I was born. I was not an integral part of his daily life, and he certainly wasn't a big chunk of my life. I've heard a lot of people talking about certain teachers, but I didn't seem to have any of them that were cruel. Um, I don't think that any of the ones that was bloody Dennis. What was Dennis's first name? The maths teacher. I mean, he was insane. Everybody thought he had that cup was full of gin or cane spirits or vodka or something. He used to walk around smacking us on the back of the head, saying the SACS spoon feeding fun stops. Yeah. I don't know if you recall that. But yeah, he was insane, man. I sort of enjoyed Badenhorst. Don't know why.
You were more
I had a
science
sort of a
oriented,
hands-off.
right?
Yeah, he and I just had a hands-off relationship. We just didn't interfere with each other. So, I mean, he had a bit of a sense of humor, and he sometimes giggled at little quips that I made. But yeah, for the rest, quite odd. Towards the end of my school years, we had a Ted Warren and a Tony Frost, which was, I think, quite unique for no reason other than it just was unique. My two namesakes there. But I had no relationship with either of them whatsoever. I just sat in the class and tried to listen. The one gave us gym, PT. The other one was science. Yeah, and the other one was Tony. Apparently had a heart condition, enlarged heart, from all the running and stuff I heard after school. I think from the holiday of Standard 8, I was doing Saturday jobs basically from the day my dad died. Bought my first bicycle cash myself. I bought my first motorcycle cash myself. Then a few weeks later, I got a big bike license. I sold that one and I bought a bigger bike cash myself. I bought my first car, etc., etc. I even bought my first house cash. So I was making a substantial amount of money by current standards during the school holidays, working on the railways in the catering department, first as a steward and then as a assistant cook and then as a second cook and then eventually as a first cook. So the day that I finished my last matric exam, I moved out of home, moved in with my sister. She had a little cottage down the road, and I moved in there, but I immediately went off to continue my periodic employment at the railways. By that stage, I had my own dining car, and I did the Cape Town to PE trip as a first cook, ripe old age of 17. And yeah, I made quite a bit of money, but then I realized, no, I have no social life. At that stage, social life had become very important. Parking outside Rustenburg, boarding house, very important part of my life. Although not in the, it was terrible during school holidays, there was no one there. In any case, Dramatic Society, we haven't spoken about Dramatic Society, that I quite enjoyed. And another guy's name, not Thornton, Thurston, someone, the master that built, I think we spoke about it the other day.
Tell us about,
dropped into the rabbit hole. What did we say? Oh, so yeah, immediately after matric, I left home, and basically a few hours later, I was on the train out of Cape Town. Yeah, a huge amount of overtime, and I made substantial amounts of money so that I could buy my first car, basically just after I turned 18. I think I was stage manager for Standard 8, Standard 9, and Standard 10, which was Midsummer Night's Dream and the Pinafore and the Gondoliers. Doug Brown didn't really want me to do it a third year because of being in matric. He said, no, it's going to interfere with my thing. And I said, listen, don't worry, my marks won't change. And yeah, he came to me one day and he said, no, I can see no difference in any of your marks. So well done. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Basically, what was really nice was, I think it was Standard 9. It was Pinafore, and I really enjoyed working on the set at poop deck. I think it is at the front of a ship. and double story, having to carry the weight of, I don't know, 15 or 18, bouncing up and down, big boys and equal number of tiny little giggling Gerties from Standard 6 on the other arm. I'm trying to sound like little girls. See, I didn't enjoy that one. I enjoyed Midsummer Night's Dream much more because the Sanssouci girls were involved, not boys dressed in dresses. That was fun. No, it was. It had to take the weight of people basically singing and, sort of rocking and dancing, and that rocking motion during the as we approach the end, we actually keep on strutting it up a bit more and more and more to stop it from falling over. And then we stopped thinking about it because we were too busy singing. You must remember that everybody backstage was singing volle borst. We were all, yeah, except for the solos. We were told to shut the hell up. But yeah, the chorus numbers, you 30 people on the stage could not have done that on your own. No, there was a lot of singing backstage. Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Also, I was introduced to Spur Burgers. We used to work quite late at night. I can't think of that teacher's name. Big chap. That actually was named Set Builder. Started with a T.
Thurman.
Thurman, thank you. I'm thinking Thirsty, but Thurman. Yeah, Thirsty Thurman. Yeah, I was introduced to the Spur, Golden Spur, and Spur Burgers. Oh, Sperm Burgers, we used to call them, because they used to come with that little bucket of sauce, and they were about $6, which was half my salary from the previous Saturday. Yeah, I worked right through school. I worked at the race course quite a lot of the time because that carried on through the year, whereas railways was only ended up as I started off at the complimentary entrance. People would leave comps for their friends and stuff. So yeah, I started there, and then after a while they asked me to, I said to them one day that they must check the sellers, the ticket sellers, because they're letting two people through the turnstile at a time. So you pay for one, you give an extra X rand, however many, and you push two through in one click. So a short while after that, I became a class monitor of the ticket sellers. Now I was about 15 at the time, 14, 15, and some of them had been doing this for many years, and it was an important part of their income, household income. So I wasn't popular there. Then I did that for a couple of years. And yeah, I think matric, I actually stopped working at the railways. It became tiresome. Sorry. Yeah, the railways, I stopped at the end of Feb after matric, and I'd got myself a pupillage at what was then Telkom, and I started working for them on the 4th of March, odd number. I ended work on the 4th of March, 39 years later. Always end work in the new tax year, never end, never resign, never retire. Resign when you want to, but never retire in the middle or late in the tax year. So yeah, I retired on the 4th of March. Makes a very big difference to your tax.
Pick up that.
I studied electrical engineering, and I enjoyed that. I built a stereo amplifier during the matric exams because I got bored with that. So yeah, I quite enjoyed. I did lights as well in the Dramatic Society. I wasn't the main dude on lights, but I quite enjoyed hanging upside down from those rafters, which were maybe 20, maybe a little bit more meters above the stage floor, to hang upside down to adjust the lights. It was like
no harness, no safety net.
No, bugger all, man. You just hooked your arms, your legs over the beams, and hooked your feet under the beam next to it because they were fairly close together. And then, hope to shit you didn't get a shock. That was the biggest fear. That who knew if there was a earth leakage on those things. So yeah, that was you always touch them rather cautiously before you grab them. Then I studied electrical engineering. Yeah, which kept me out of the army. I decided I didn't do cadets either, by the way. I used to show the pictures to the Standard 6s during cadets decided cadets weren't for me, and the army wasn't for me. So yeah, studying through I became a key post person. Didn't go to the army. 7 years later, I got a briefie from them. Thanks very much, but we don't want you anymore. You're on the permanent National Reserve. And I resigned the next morning, and yeah, I went out into the more corporate world, worked my way up. Then I started, studied business administration and then law. And then I changed the world for a lot of suppliers of stuff to Armscor by creating a set of terms and conditions of purchase, which everybody then had to agree to if they wanted to sell to us, as opposed to thousands of contracts of sale, each one different, and the poor buyers didn't have the intellect to understand any of them. So that was a big feather in my cap. Yeah, so I was working for, after railways, I was working for Roynet Defence. Then I went to Armscor. Then I went back to Roynet because when the Dreigende Vreugde arrived, and I was still at Armscor, I resigned from them. And I went back to Roynet because now it was the big electrification thing. Still in supply chain management. And yeah, then I started my company in computers. And then one day I got a call from Anglo America. They'd heard about this terms and conditions of purchase that I was involved with, and would I do the same for them? So I ended up working basically. Yeah, I wrote a global framework agreement of purchase or acquisition, and then I was tasked with the two teams. I was kind of the lead of the one team and another guy with the other team, and we had to negotiate these global conditions with 10 of the biggest suppliers for Anglo globally, very big companies. And I did the 3 electrical companies and the 2 plant equipment, which is molds and crushers and that type of thing, huge things that smash rocks. So big, very big. I mean, the electrical companies were ABB, General Electric, Siemens, and the equipment companies were Metso and FL Schmidt. So when I was finished with those 5, they offered me retrenchment. I had already found out from somebody that because I was earning too much, various people that were pissed off the salary when they found out what I was getting, especially my new boss. I was getting substantially more than he was. So yeah, they offered me retrenchment. I decided, no, I'm over 55. I'm going to retire. Massive advantage to myself. The package for a retiree was immense compared to the retrenchment, which was absolute according to the letter of the law. And yeah, 56, I walked away, and I've been very happy ever since. Nowadays, I'm studying soil biology, soil health, climate change, mitigation and adaptation, permaculture, food forest. I train. I do quite a lot of sharing of knowledge for the community at a community food garden on the road. So I write my own courses, and I got a small business, small manufacturing company that takes about 3 or 4 hours of my time. And yeah, my passion is soil and trying to help people overcome or adapt their behaviors so that they aren't facilitating our extinction, but rather trying to stop it or prevent. I foresee the extinction of the human race probably by 2050. Some people say 2030, but that's not going to happen. We're too clever for that. But we almost past the tipping point now for a country like America. Technically needs a second plan. I think on the 3rd of February or something. From then on, they're using up resources from the rest of the planet. South Africa is already needing a second planet from July or June. I think last year it was already June that we crossed the threshold of if the whole planet was eating and wasting resources as fast as we, then the whole world would need a second. So that's how they measure it. So if everybody was living like in America, we would all die of hunger by June or July. If everybody was living like South Africans, we'd all die of hunger and thirst by October, because we just ran out of resources. But we can change it. We're clever enough to it. But if only people would listen to the importance of the way we've destroyed biodiversity. We're losing 1,000 species a day at the moment. Biodiversity is the key driver of every single ecosystem service that the planet delivers for us. Yeah, it's my passion, I suppose.
Wow.
Don't get me started. Yeah, it's very much a case of not in my backyard. I can afford a tumble dryer. I can afford the electricity, so go to hell. And that really is, it's not complacency. It's more, I don't want to be inconvenienced, and I don't believe it will affect me. And if I put my head deep enough in the sand, it probably won't. What he doesn't realize is his arse is up in the air. Somebody's going to come and abuse that.
So what would your...
Yeah, if you look at the growth of the human race, since whenever you believe humans arrived on the planet, be it 5,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago or whenever, arrived as a species. I'm not saying they came from elsewhere, just as they evolved into intelligent beings. It took about, let's say 100,000 years is fairly accurate. Then it took 99,000 years to reach about 400,000 people on the planet. And in the last 100 years, just 100 years, we've gone from, I think it was about half a billion to 7 billion. And by 2050, we will achieve 12 billion. That's, if you can picture the graph, it is absolutely horizontal, no matter how big your scale is. And then it just goes like that. It's literally skyrockets. We're gaining like 100,000 people a month or whatever it is. And we're not doing anything about it. So that's the one thing. The way we can do that is by abusing the soil, but poisoning it, growing food, enough food for everybody, cheaper and faster and quicker. Every year, we manage to grow more and more food while we're losing 20% of the productive topsoil almost a year, centimeters a year, 30 centimeters. During the Dust Bowl years of America, the farms lost up to a meter of soil, topsoil, to dust, and they can't replace it. So yeah, we're destroying the soil. We're just destroying the ability to produce food without chemicals, but the chemicals are making the soil lifeless, prone to erosion, wind erosion, rain erosion. And so we force it to make more food by pumping more and more water onto the soil and giving it chemicals to survive on. But the very chemicals that we grow the food with are killing the bacteria, the biota, and the fungi in the soil. So it becomes lifeless. They can't get the proper nutrients. And so now the nutrient value of an apple that we get nowadays is almost zero compared to what it was just 60 years ago. 100 years ago, if you ate an apple, if you ate 2 apples a day, you'd never have to go to the doctor. That was almost literally true. Now you can eat 50 or 60 apples a day and you'll just get an upset because there's no nutrient value. If you look at the average son, and in some cases the average daughter nowadays, they're taller than their parents because they've been fed for their whole life, whereas the parents have only been exposed to growth hormones in everything they're eating for a short period. The kids have been exposed to growth hormones since day one in their mother's milk. So yeah, children are bigger than their parents. They eat more than their parents, yet they're still sickly because they're not getting nutritious food. The nutrition in food comes from the biota in the soil, not from a sack that says 773 or 125 or whatever NPK. Yeah, that's the reality. The food is worthless that we get given, but there's a lot of it, and it's really so. Yeah, at the moment we're still capable of feeding people, but we get around out of water wars are quite likely. So fighting about how much water you can suck out of a river that's shared by 2 countries. With the Ganges, it's practically walk across the river there because it's so full of bodies and excrement, and yet they sit there bathing in it.
I think a lot of guys...
And yeah, the Ganges is almost stopped running in places because of the dams that they've built. So that's affecting agriculture in the upper reaches of the Ganges. Yeah. if everybody burned less fossil fuels, carbon that has been sequestrated naturally for 100 million years, what do? We dig it up out of the ground and then we set fire to it and release the carbon into the air. So driving less, that's a pain for all of us, because nowadays you got to do the school runs and the gym runs and the karate lesson and the ballet run and the music lesson run. So it's a very demanding lifestyle that our children and grandchildren have created for us, or school. And the need to excel in everything is driving a lot of it. You're not doing well enough at music, so we'll give you 4 lessons, and that's 4 more trips. And the best teacher is on the other side of town. It's 27 kilometers, but we'll take you there. And we can't sit and wait in the car because I've got work to do. So I'm going to drive almost all the way back home and then do a little bit of laundry and put it in the tumble dryer, and then rush back to pick you up again. And then we have to run home. Then we need to go pick up takeaway food, which is totally non-nutritious. So you got cars. You could grow some food in your back garden. It's basically how I started. We grow quite a substantial amount. We've got our own chickens. We produce practically no waste. Our dustbin almost empty, because the chickens get everything that came off our plate, and we have very little left on our plate. We do exercise portion control, and so on portion control from the time when we start peeling the potatoes or the carrots. And then on the plate, it's portion control as well. No, it's not rigid, and we're not anal about it. We very seldom have food left on our plate. So the poor chickens just get chicken bones. Well, the chickens love chicken. Carnivores that they are. It gives them their calcium for the eggies. So yeah, people say, oh, but I'm going to get a bokashi bin. So the bokashi bin is made of plastic that they're going to have to buy. And then they're going to have to buy bran, which is inoculated somewhere in China, and then it's sent across the planet in a ship that's burning coal or diesel. And then it takes 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes 6 or 8 weeks to break the stuff down. And then they have to put it in a compost pile anyway, because it can't use it as it comes out of there, because it's anaerobic and it stinks and stuff. Whereas a chicken can take the leftovers of your sandwich, and tomorrow morning that's an egg and a little heap of manure overnight, which is infinitely more efficient than a bokashi bin or a compost pile. I don't have a bokashi bin, but I've got 3 compost systems, 3 chickens, grow a lot of food. We've got a small garden, very modest size house and garden. Yeah, we got 36 fruit trees. We grow our own fodder for the chickens. They then get the waste. We try and avoid buying plastic. However, part of it is driven by the fact that the company I said I own actually makes, but it's got a very long life, the stuff that I'm. So that's my responsibility to, at least at home, save as much carbon as I possibly can. I actually have implemented from the very beginning. I mean, the Cape Flats, which is basically dune sand from the time when Table Mountain was an island. Sand, just snow white sand, so it became very important to build the soil for me. And I implemented what the Amazons were doing 2,000, 3,000 years ago. They were still doing it when the Spaniards arrived and gave them the gift of bubonic plague and various other diseases. They killed our bloody. But they developed a way of changing rainforest soil, which is also just sand. Everything's been washed out a million years ago. So they started, well, they must have noticed, some observant fellow walking around said, oh, look at that tree got hit by lightning and it's gone out because the rain started soon afterwards. So there's all this black stuff lying on the ground, chunky stuff, and you would have picked it up. Oh, look how light this is, and floats, and wow. And then shortly afterwards, his wife came back and he said, you know that tree that you said fell down, you will see how the berries are growing. So a couple of generations later, they worked out, you put charcoal in soil, you got better soil. So yeah, I personally have already sequestrated about 4 tons of very, very, very fine charcoal in my own little patch in the sun here in Africa. And then I use earthworms because I'm no dig. You don't dig, because if you dig, you disturb the biota in the soil almost as much as by throwing down toxic synthetic chemicals. And the earthworms are capable of what's called bioturbation. Turbation means mixing. So they swallow compost and charcoal on the surface and they bury it in my soil for me. I've now got 20 centimeters of topsoil, pitch black, rich, water retaining, nutrient retaining topsoil in 5 years, which in nature would take anywhere between 300 and 1,000 years. I would like to make one comment about the is your trip really necessary being effective in reducing fuel usage, because they had a much better way of doing it, and that was to not sell you fuel unless you had a ration. Legislation. Look at Australia. You take a kid out on a sunny day without a hat on, they'll arrest you. You will not take a child into the sun without a hat because it was made into legislation. But governments don't want to do that because the people that are driving them or whatever are making money out of destroying the. So why, if you're a politician and it will affect your family's ability to go on holiday or buy another bungalow on the beach, which is not a good idea because the beach will be where your roof is short. So why push for something that's going to turn into hardship for you yourself? And of course, ego is self-preservation is an exceptionally strong drive. My own place where I am here will probably soon in geological terms, maybe 100, 200, 300 years time. Once again, it'll be seen when Robben Island is longer. The highest point on Robben Island, I think, is 6 or 7 meters high above sea level. It's not going to be around for very long. And then very soon, Table Mountain will once more be an island. Africa will officially end with Hottentots. So don't buy land on the beach. Not a good idea. Resale value is a declining market. What, go and buy land in Ceres or inland on top of a mountain. Yeah, that is a reality that we're going to face. Is the rising of the ocean is already being affected. New York has submerged suburbs, underground trains,
Subway.
metro trains, what's the bloody
Subway.
tube trains, subway, yeah. They have flooded subways quite often. You get even a minus, just marginally stronger than an average storm, and the water gets onto Venice. Yes, Venice might well be sinking, but the sea is also coming up to meet this. Most people in Venice can't use their ground floor anymore. They now have their front doors at the first floor level. They were always sort of tall homes, like lots of England, lots of parts of England. It was a 3-story building, but it only had a footprint on the ground of 10 square meters. Yeah, Australia is full of legislation, and they actually monitor this. South Africa, you can send a 1-year-old out on the beach all day, come home with blisters and stuff like that. Nobody's bat an eye. People are still smoking in the car with the child in the, hopefully strapped to the back seat, but maybe standing on the front seat so you can see out. Do that in Australia.
No.
Yeah, the way in which we evolved, for want of a better word, is actually incredible. It was also an interest of mine and we left the trees because we can perspire. So we got onto the ground and we can actually run a gazelle into the, because we can carry a goat full of water and just carry on. The gazelle can't. Eventually, the gazelle collapsed on the ground and we can walk up and smack it on the head and we then get massive boost of protein. All the animals eating bloody fruit, they can't even tell whether it's ripe or not because most of them are colored. We pick the best, ripest fruit, we eat it. We eat a lot of meat because we can literally run an animal into the and yeah, our ankle bones change, so now we can't put our toes against the front of our shin like a chimpanzee can because we don't need to climb trees. So we moved on to the plains, and yeah, we got cleverer and cleverer, curiouser and curiouser, as they say. And in doing so, we became more and more. We also learned that yeah, these lions are ugly creatures that can quite easily kill us. So what we'll do is every time the lion goes off to hunt and they've got cubs, now I'm talking thousands of years ago, then we'll go and we'll bash the bloody cub. They smell human, they bugger off, because we are the creatures of death. The lions come home and all they can smell is humans, and all they can see is dead cubs. Oh, we better keep clear of these people. So yeah, we dominated because we were able to grasp the significance of certain situations and use them to our advantage.
Can we still do that now?
And we're still doing it now. We're doing it to
Can
each
we?
other.
Can we?
Yeah, we're still doing it.
We've so far in evolution, we have successfully negotiated all the challenges that nature has thrown at us. Can we do it again?
Yeah, but every problem we face today was a short while ago a solution to a problem that existed then. Every single problem that the globe faces today used to be a solution. Horses were a big problem in London. Horses were a huge problem. There was mounds of shit everywhere. And then somebody came past with a little thing that was going boop, 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 and spewing out black smoke, but it wasn't shitting in the road. Now we've got to become a problem. We've got to dig up fossil fuel because we need to get across town faster and faster. But we can't get across town faster and faster, so we'll have to dig a tunnel under the road and go by train. You know, not that tube trains are the biggest problem we face, but certainly if you think about any problem, a tumble dryer. Why is a tumble dryer a critical life support system? During COVID, I lost, I don't know how many, about 12 or 15 kilograms, because throughout COVID, while I couldn't basically get out the house, I worked in my garden, and yeah, I built some back-breaking toilets, but every evening I go to bed tired and satisfied and healthy. But you guys face a huge problem that was a solution. We need to grow more food in Australia 20, 30 years ago. Let us cut down eucalyptus trees. Cut them down because they're sucking up too much water. What happened? The water table rose to the surface, and now you've got salty soil across a huge part of your breadbasket. Huge problem. And you can't get rid of it. The soil is unusable. It is degraded to the point where it is useless.
Yep.
Now they say, we'll plant eucalyptus again. Well, it's going to take much more than 30 years to drop the water table.
Of course.
And that's all that happened.
Yeah.
They stopped sucking up the water, so the water rose to the surface. Sure. You got these white fields. I've got an answer for you, and it's kind of based on what I said just now, that every problem used to be a solution. And that is when we face a problem as an intelligent species, we do not think about the problem holistically. We don't think, why are these trees? We just think, get the trees out of the way and we can grow more food, and then I can make more money. And if I make more money, I can buy another bungalow down at the beach. If when you're contemplating a problem that's affecting your life, if you really sat down and thought it through, what could change if I use alternative that I don't want to change? All right, no, geez, the water table's going to rise if we stop sucking water out from underground. All right, let's think of something else. We're not so good at doing that. Bright as we think we are, the whole SACS extinction that we brought upon ourselves in 100 or so years. The other extinctions all took millions of years. They lasted for millions of years. We've done it in just 120 years since the first motor pulled up, coughing out blacks. We've done that in an incredibly swift time. And now we're doubling our number, in record time as well. 2050 is going to be a problem. If we get to 12 billion people, we have a serious problem. And there is no planet. If we don't stop degrading the soil and the air and reducing the biodiversity. So I would say, in answer to an earlier question, something that we can all do right now is try and think holistically of the repercussions of every single thing that you do, every choice you do. It's probably impossible to do that. Is there a better way to do it that it will be less harmful to our little Earth life support? which is it's our lungs, it's our water supply, it feeds us. I can give you so many numbers, but there's such a small percentage of soil that can actually support us by making food, because we've destroyed most of it. It's been washed out to sea by erosion, wind erosion, water erosion. So yeah, if there's something that everybody can do now without spending a cent, is just think about what you're going to what are the possible repercussions? Make a list. A, B, C are the possible options. Oh, hang on. They all pretty cool. We'll have to think of a D. And oh, goodness, we'll have to walk to the washing line. Maybe D is a good idea. I was thinking about that recently. In fact, I wrote something about over the week. It's caused quite a Facebook. I got my activity on my Facebook page. One of them is 11,947% growth in the last 7 days. 11,947% growth. Be that as it may. Once we reach the tipping point, we're not going to stop the extinction, and we're pretty close to it. In geological terms, it's a flash in the. It's going to be 2050 is when we can't stop it. Then a few natives living on tall mountains, far from civilization, maybe they've never yet seen a missionary or a white fellow or whatever. Maybe some of them will survive if they don't get blown off the mountain or something like that, or get hit by lightning, whatever. So yeah, it's unlikely, because we're so widely spread on the planet, and some are healthier than others. I'm sure some humans build bloody bunkers, whatever they want to do, but some will just naturally survive because they're still resilient. That's another thing. Improve your resilience, your exposure to climate change risk. Put solar stuff on the windows to stop heating your house. Grow a tree, grow tomato. Growing one tomato will give you great joy. If it's your first tomato. We've been growing tomatoes. We don't even plant seeds for most things anymore, because the seed bed is now in the soil. Because we compost everything, and many seeds don't get killed, and some do, but some don't. Tomatoes are notorious. Like, just about set fire to them and they'll still germinate. So we get a lot of the little cherry tomatoes, because there's millions of seeds in a cherry tomato. As a proportion of weight, big tomatoes, it's almost got the same number of pips in as a tiny one of those little cherry ones. So the other day, a tomato that we got from the shop landed up in our compost, all the pips, and we've got tomatoes that are the size of a hockey ball for the first time. We normally have pretty mediocre tomatoes. And every day I go racing out there to check on the color. Are they starting to blush? Are they kissed by the sun? And I've seen so many tomatoes in the last few years. So yeah, grow something. Grow, a tomato. Yeah. Well, you made me think of something else now. Repair rather than replace. So a shirt, a cotton shirt, okay, has cost, I don't know if it's like 10,000 liters of water to produce a cotton shirt, and it loses a button, and we chuck it. Well, I don't. Some of my clothes, are not that, but I don't throw away. I try to buy less nylon type clothes, but they're lekker. You wash them, you hang them up, 2 minutes later, so things have got advantages. Now, if you see past the immediate gratification, tumble dry. Sorry to keep on it. It's lekker. I want to wear this in an hour. I've got to go out. I need this thing in an hour. I'm going to wash it quickly because it reeks. Put it from that machine into that machine. They could chuck in more coal there at the power station. It's not my problem. And in 10 minutes, that little item, you wash one bloody t-shirt. The whole washing machine has to go through a cycle. The tumble dryer runs 10 minutes, and poof, you got a shirt. And that's all you're interested in. This shirt with this logo on is what I will wear to this meeting that I'm going to. So I can get it done because I've got it done. Instant gratification and ego. Ego's, humans have got an ego. Really have.
Interesting point.
Huh? Well, well done for
So
you on
important.
getting rid of the bloody Tom. That was a
Sorry?
big step.
What was that?
The Tamara, that was a big step for you.
Yeah.
A very big step for you. And you were challenged by your household. And I don't know if you were standing against the wall with a sharp stick in your hand to defend yourself.
Sometimes it felt like
You over, and the house didn't fall down.
No.
Nobody died. You
Yeah.
get one mug of coffee,
and
then you take the mug, you hold it under the tap, you put the right amount of water in the mug, and you put that water in. Voila! You're now not wasting one single joule of energy or what the hell ever, whatever you want to use as measure. But you've not going to now warm up the earth with 3 cups of water left behind that has to cool down, which means it has to give the air, the heat off, which means your fridge now has to work harder to maintain its temperature because the bloody hot water has lifted the temperature of the air in the room. Normally, but by God has lifted it. As that water cooled down, the fridge worked harder. The easy way to notice it though is because the one that's B minus, that's X Aussie dollars. The one that's triple A, that's the one with the heat exchanger, and it's 4 or maybe 5 times the price of the L. It's just cutting electricity.
The amount.
Every 2,000 watts.
Yep.
Average petrol. Getting once again going back to can we make a difference? And now I've forgotten what I wanted. That'll come back to me now. I'm quite a good. Can yeah. No, it's gone. I was thinking of too many things. I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Why did we never speak at school? Because this is quite interesting. All my reports, Warren could do better. Warren must apply himself. Warren could do better. Warren could do a lot. And at university, I once decided that one of my lecturers was giving me the same thing. Just apply. You can't leave every exam after 2 minutes. Just trust what you're capable of. So I did. The bastard gave me an oral test of about 4 hours because he said I obviously cheated because I got a 90 or 10. So he just couldn't believe that. And he asked more and more difficult questions. I'm not just a pretty, because it's a long time ago now, but because my wife left me and I had too much going on in my life, and so my middle daughter, or my middle child, my elder, not the brightest light in the night sky, but by God, has she got stable. So she's a chartered accountant. Probably took her about 8, maybe 9 years.
Yeah.
She's now gone to England, and she's in a flash in the pan or whatever flick of the duck's tail. She's now a chartered accountant, UK. And my younger, a few months before she finished her master's in psychology, just can't take listening to other people's crap.
Yeah.
But after you've
got
all the subjects
I did UCT.
for your curriculum, then they tell you, here's a bloody list of extra subjects you have to do, like accounting, and I enjoyed accounting, but And then I did it later. Then came the real crunch. Okay, listen, when you pass, then you can go and become a pupil. You can do your pupillage at the advocate's office.
Yeah.
And how much will I earn? I had 3 children and not a cent. They won't pay you a cent for 6. And if you don't do it, and they don't like what you did, sorry for you, you've got an LOB, but you're never going to be allowed to do the bar. And if you don't do the bar exam within 3 years, you can start again because you don't know what the law says. Yeah. So was just legend. I really also enjoyed law, and what I maybe the source of the enjoyment was I could see why the judges in all those examples, why they made the decision that they. It was just so obvious. I can't think of the Latin term for the reason, the core reason for the decision. So I used to see them, and one of my closest friends is an advocate, practicing advocate.
Oh no,
And he
it's the
occasionally,
ratio decadenti. The obiter dictum is the comment. The ratio decadendi is the rationale.
yeah, right, yeah. The reason, yeah, I never did. Well, I did Latin in A1. Decided, no, shit, this is a lot. And then they argue about how to pronounce it. Well, like me, nobody. How do you know how that? Nobody's actually fluent in Latin and can communicate with somebody whose mother tongue it's. You know, there's nobody with Latin as a mother tongue. Be that as it may. So, yeah, I'd read a case and just see it. But there, right there. I bet you that's going to affect the outcome of this case. And they're like, yeah. So occasionally phones me and says, listen, like situation, yeah, this and this and this. He thinks the main reasons, and quite a few times you didn't say, why did you didn't, because nobody's mentioned that. I'll go find out.
Yep.
And then yeah, he must be why I did. That's maybe why I did well at stock trading. I was a trader when I got bored with my computer company.
Yeah.
And I basically focused on just one, and that was Anglo, because it was so perfectly volatile. No matter how many shares I wanted to buy or sell, instantly they're available. Yeah. Whereas, smaller shares are sometimes difficult to buy or sell. And yeah, I just used to see patterns, and it's going to change. It's going to change. Well, I started in standard, what was that, 16, and I matriculated. So I do belong in this group. And yeah, uneventful, I suppose. I was pretty bored at school. My best memories were probably in the dramatic society. Never on stage unless I was fixing lights, or I was stage manager, I think, for standard 8, 9, and so it was Midsummer Nights, HMS Pinafore, and the Gondoliera.
That's right.
So those were probably my most memorable time in the Gilbert and Sullivan things. It was very much a team effort, all singing along backstage. I mean, everybody that was backstage was singing with great gusto. People were saying in the front, gee, it sounded like there were 60 people on that stage. And that's because they were, just most of us were backstage. Yeah. For the rest, yeah, school was boring. I plodded along, did the minute in every respect. I didn't partake in sport much. I had cadets. Within a few weeks of realizing that this cadet thing was going to be happening, I tried to join but I didn't practice on anything because I didn't want to, the army, the cadet band. I didn't practice anything, and I have no musical talent. So of course I had to play the bugle around my rehearsal and try to play a bugle for the very first time. So that didn't score any. Then they said, "Well, try the tenor drums." So I tried the tenor. Other people had already learned to twist them and twirl them around on the little strings, the drumsticks or whatever they're called, were attached to your wrist or fingers or whatever. So I didn't score there. And then I thought of a different way to get out of it. And having gone through standard 6, where we all went on cadet days to go watch crappy movies on flies and cracks in your plate, and I volunteered to be the projectionist. So for the next 4 years, I never attended any form of cadet activities. It was one. And that set me up to not go to the. I don't know if we're leaving school now, but I didn't go to the army either. However, I spent about 15 years working for army. So I did my service in a different.
This is brilliant, Warren. Great.
No basics, no. Yeah, well, I should have been in the army. I started working, did electrical engineering. Later on, I studied business administration and then law. and then I gave up on my LLB for, I don't know, personal reasons. My wife buggered off while I was overseas, and I came home to basically an empty home, and I was living out on a, and yeah, didn't please me at all. I see the pictures very bad now. All right, so yeah, then from arms school I started my own business. That got boring. Computer industry. So I started becoming a day trader on the stock market, Johannesburg stock market. Apparently I was very good at it. I made a lot of money. And then I sort of stopped working. It was 2008. And yeah, then all of a sudden, Anglo America contacted me, offered me a job. Something that I've achieved at during my arms corps days was to move away from, I was in the procurement section, and I got them to move away from us trying to understand thousands of supply terms of sales, or sales terms and agreements and so on. I got permission to write a set of terms and conditions of bid, which I believe is still. And what that did was it turned the tables on the suppliers, because we knew our sets, terms and conditions, and they were harsh. Relatively fair, but you performed or you were in. And yeah, at some stage, Anglo got to hear about it, and they offered me a position to do this, write it and then get it negotiated with 5 of the top global suppliers. So those were very, very, very large corporations. And during that, I was told I have to other persons, to negotiate, and yeah, when we got my they offered to retreat, so I negotiated a much better. I didn't see that coming, so yeah, I retired in 56. At 56 in 2000. So I changed it to retirement, and since then I've become a tree hugger. I'm madly into soil regeneration, soil health regeneration, and climate warming mitigation, adaptation, permaculture, food forests, all that type of stuff. And now I grow a lot of my own food out in our back garden, where, of course, you would probably remember that Goodwood is in the Cape Flats, yes. Dune sand. In fact, there's a biome called the Cape Flats Dune. So growing trees and veggies and herbs, not the smoking kind of herb. Actually, that comes up because my neighbor's son throws little black pips over the wall. I did set construction. The Pinafore set, you might remember, was the whole bow of, not about the front part of a sailing ship. And Thurman, well, not really the bridge. They didn't have the bridge. Would have been at the back. It was the bow, the front.
I remember
built, and I built it with Thurman. Thurman.
I remember. Yes.
Yeah, we spent hundreds of days, and it was a hell of a thing. Yeah, we had to carry the weight of all you guys stomping up and down, and all the sisters and cousins and aunts and nieces. A whole lot of you stomping up and down on that little deck. That thing gave us the heebie-jeebies, man. Every night we thought it's going to bloody collapse.
Oh, brilliant.
A bit involved.
I
got a bit involved with the Milnerton Players, Amateur Dramatic Society. I was living in Milnerton at the time. And yeah, I did acting, directing, backstage. Didn't write a play. Thought about it, but it's a lot of work. So yeah, I got, but mainly I was either front house or backstage. Okay. I didn't act very often. I don't think my life has been an actor. I don't need to pretend to be something extra. It's been diverse. Yes, I've changed. I've always been stuck. Much more than I was at school. At school, I just drifted absolute minimum. I used to sit and answer my paper and then work out about 7, 9, 51. Right, stop. I wouldn't bother to go on after I felt that I'd passed the whatever test or even through my matric. I built a bloody stereo amplifier during matric exam. I started just after the matric exam started, and yeah, it lasted me a few years before one day it just blew up in smoke, but it lasted a few years. So, but you know, I want to talk about you remember Pinafore with some warmth. I liked Midsummer Night's because we had all those girls from St. Susie there, which was far more interesting than all of the little standard sixes prancing around in dress. So I had a lot of fun.
Oh, that's a brilliant line. I love it.
There was a bit of contest at times for certain of the girls' favor, but Standard 8, Midsummer Night's Dream, that was a lot of fun backstage.
Mark Witston was.
Yes, he was, I think. And I had to build a bloody tree stump for him to hide. And a wall with the chink.
That's fantastic. Well, I had
actually, I must admit, I do have a manufacturing company as well.
Oh,
I bought that quite recently. Very small. I compete with some rather large large companies, Stadler and companies like that in America, and I make polymer clay for artists and crafters and hobbyists and so.
Oh, fantastic!
Doing quite well. Not amazing, but juggles along. I only go in for about an hour a day, 3 times a week, so it's rather pleasant. The rest of the time,
sound like you're living the dream.
Nah, bullshit. It's sometimes I do tax and that type of crap. I didn't go to SACS Junior, and my standard 3. What's it nowadays? Grade 5. My standard 3 year was very traumatic. I have never bothered to learn how to spell. Still can't spell. And my standard 3 teacher took it upon himself to teach me how to spell. So I got caned in front of the class for the first 3 months of the standard 3 year. And then I learned how to forge my mother's handwriting. And I basically didn't go to school on Wednesdays from then on until standard 4. So yeah, that wasn't a pleasant year. And high school, I think Johnny Ince, I don't know, I think he recognized something of value in me. Well, the teacher in question really thought he would get me to be able to spell. So he'd give me the list of words on a Tuesday, and I wouldn't bother to learn them as a defiance act. But memory isn't very good at the moment, so it's never really been very good. Short-term memory, yeah. I used to be able to study on Monday night, write the exam on Tuesday, and then walk out the exam and not be sure what I'd written, what subject I'd written. So, and that's kind of. But I'm nowadays I'm autodidact. I just can't stop studying.
Really?
I study maybe. In fact, you're interrupting my studies. I study probably about 4 to 5 hours a day. Every day. Well, so people are coming up with different numbers. Some people say we'll be extinct by 2026, which I think is a little bit of a push. I reckon by 2050, when we hit about 10 and a half, maybe 11 billion, things are going to start falling apart for a number of reasons. One of them will be water and heating, people dying of heat stroke, dehydration, food shortages. And because people aren't listening to idiots like myself who's saying, just stop pushing out carbon, it's a good way to start, and try and become more resilient to things to reduce your exposure to risks. I reckon that human extinction, the sixth extinction, as they call it, 6 mass extinction. We've had 5 over the last millennia, a couple of 100,000 years, a couple of 100 million years. So this will be the 6th brought upon. It's an anthropic extinction. It's brought upon by us in a matter of about 120 years since we started destroying the planet, or the natural systems, the water system, the food system, the carbon system, the nitrogen system. About 20% of our carry on. I reckon the guys in New Guinea and places will probably repopulate the planet because they're a little bit far out in the Pacific. They might not be affected. But they're going to be affected by heat and changed weather. Weather will be hotter and drier or hotter and wetter or whatever. Cape Town looks bleak. I mean, you must be aware that we were 10 days away from day zero. When was it? In 17 or 18?
Yep.
When was it? 19.
18.
And we overcame it. That's when I started getting into this whole food thing. So I preempted what people started in COVID, and that was starting to grow food in your garden. So I already did that in 18. Not sure why. Did very well during COVID, by the way. For some reason, in November 2019, I bought about 3 years worth of supply of my main raw material. So I could make my product right through COVID. And many people couldn't. Certainly in South Africa, there were no imports of the products that I make. So I did rather nicely. Thanks very much during COVID. Maybe that's why I did so well with the day trading. I noticed trends. Context. Actually, context was the least thing. I was very what they call a technical trader. And I ended up mainly only trading. It was long before I worked for Anglo America, but I ended up trading mainly Anglo America. I've over a year or two, I'd observed how their price changed every day, the pattern. And I'd buy in the morning and sell in the afternoon and make 4% a day.
Whoa!
Which is
jeez,
not every day.
No, I'm sure.
Not every day. No, I'm not interested.
Yeah, why is that?
I used to do. I had a computer company, but nowadays, if I want something to be done, I call my son.
Oh, quickly.
Okay, so I've got firstborn son. He's a forensic software auditor. Was with Old Mutual, now at Sanlam. Next up was my elder daughter, and she's a chartered accountant. She's living in England now. So she just converted a qualification to be acceptable in England and Scotland and Wales and everything. And so she's a CASA UK. Wow. South Africa and UK. And then my youngest daughter, she's pretty smart. Also, I used to say to her, "What are you writing tomorrow?" "No, I don't know. I'll go check just now." Then she, when the results come out, she gets bloody A's. In any case, she gave up on her, like I gave up on my LLB. She gave up on her master's in psychology a few months before she was supposed to finalize that. Yeah, she's I don't know, started doing silly jobs in shopping malls, selling stuff. And what's she doing now? She's got an administrative job somewhere, but she's also in England. My son decided he's not going. Right. So yeah, I haven't gone because when you're my age, although I've got a little bit of money stashed away, moving to England and buying property there, because I've never not owned property. I don't know if maybe this is interesting. I actually worked during just about every school holiday on the railways in the catering department. My dad died when I was 13, actually about 3/4 of the way through Standard 6. And money came to a very abrupt halt. I don't know if I should be talking about this, but in any case, I was sponsored. Well, I never spoke about this at school, so maybe it's a bit of a shock for school. My dad became an alcoholic when he had a publishing business, and his partner basically sold the business machinery out from under his nose. Kind of like when I gave up on my LLB, he got to the printing works factory, whatever they would call it, and that was bare. Everything was gone. And he didn't take that very well. He was advanced age. He was 56 when I was born, by the way, with his 30-year-old wife. He was quite a bit older. And I had zero, think about it, 56 with an unwanted, snotty little son who was far too smart for his own good. I wasn't very popular around the house with my mom. My mom was infatuated with my dad. And I wasn't welcome. I was there. They didn't lock me in a kennel, and they did feed me.
First day of school, junior school. Okay, there's your bag. You know where it is. Off you go. And I made it to the first corner, and the little old lady there was watering flowers and saw me. And where are you going? I'm going to school. Oh, on your own? Yeah. Oh, I'll walk with you. So that was my first day of school.
That's a
Yeah,
lovely,
so
that's a
after my
lovely
dad-
little anecdote.
No, I was just a very late lammetjie. My eldest brother, half brother, step brother, because my dad had got divorced. So Rex was about 25, I think, when I was born.
Wow.
My elder full brother, Trevor, may he rest in peace. He was 13 when I was born. My sister, may she rest in peace, was 6 or 7, close, somewhere on the brink of 6 and 7, on the cusp. And then I came along. And I wasn't only, but I was certainly for most of my life the only child in the house. Yep. My brother and sister both went to Westerford. My sister was expelled, smoking and behaving raucously, I suppose. So she went to St. Susie, and I wouldn't go to Westerford because of her heritage. So that's why I went to SACS. I was going to go to, thank God I didn't. Oh man, one of these little country out by Elgin.
Villiersdorp?
Yeah, Villiersdorp, thank you. Your memory is far better than mine. Yeah, I wanted to go to Villiersdorp because I wanted to get out of the house. I wasn't happy at home. And fortunately, sanity prevailed, and I realized, no, hell, yeah, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it in the army either. I was bullied very badly in junior school, and then I used to go home, by the way, race home, different routes most days to avoid my friendly bully, and read encyclopedias from page 1 of volume 1 through to page 100 and whatever, 300, whatever it was in volume 48. That's what I used to do in the afternoons.
Mate, I
became
can relate.
totally unsocial. My life changed when I got to self-defense, the SE section, and the bully stopped coming to school. He never returned after our last interaction.
Tell us about that.
There's nothing to tell. I used to go to home every day on a different route, and then every so often he would decide to try and anticipate which route I was going to take, and yeah, sometimes he was successful, and I hurt him very badly. He was about 3 years older than me, about 50 pounds more than me. Anyway, so yeah,
was there a specific Warren? Was there a specific incident where you did something that the bullying stopped?
I probably chirped him repeatedly. He was a dipstick. I mean,
they always are.
What's 2 and 2? Yeah, but they're also cowards, eh? Bullies are cowards.
100%.
So yeah, I hurt him rather badly, and he somehow just convinced his family or whatever he's not coming back to the school I was in.
Wow, good for you.
That was junior school. Yeah.
It must have given you a lot of confidence moving forward.
Yeah, and aggression.
I presume that with that,
I've always had subdued aggression since then. Don't push it with me.
Controlled aggression.
Most of the time. I don't know how it would. You see, that's why I was actually scared to go to the army. Was the option of having a idiot, 15 or 16-year-old idiot, explaining to me how he'd had fun with my mother last night would not have ended well. And then I also became aware that if you get sent to DB, it doesn't count your number of days. If you're in for 2 years, 720 days, whatever it is, then every day you spend in DB doesn't count. And I worked out, well, I'll probably never get out. I'll never finish my military service. So that was one of the reasons why I chose not to go. You've captured my whole fear, was this Afrikaner fuck with 4 years in standard 7. Now he's a corporal. Best 4 years of his life as a standard. But also my reading habits and racing home after school made me very unsociable. I lack social skills. I'm harshly undiplomatic, brutally honest, and my mouth is usually about 8 to 10 seconds ahead of my brain.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, I say black and white. I say exactly what I think of something, and most people don't like that at all. Most people don't like hearing the truth, and I'm very high in integrity, I think, unusually high. If I say I'm going to do something, fuck me, I'll do it. And if I warned you that I'm going to do it, really get the hell out of my way. Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah, that
Sorry.
interesting interactions.
Yeah. You've really given us a fantastic.
I did public speaking as well. I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest accolade that Toastmasters International gives any of their members.
I'm not surprised.
Normally takes about 16 to 18 years to achieve that, and only 0.8 3 in 1,000 members actually attain that level, and I did it in 4 years. I won quite a few speaking contests, but it also helped me with the negotiations. Negotiation is a funny thing at a corporate level. It's not quite the same as trying to get 5 rand off on a carpet. So you're dealing with wise people, and they've been challenged or been given a mandate. You mustn't go in for less than that, and must get that. And very often there's roadblocks, and I used to just listen. Part of speaking is listening, and I'd hear over lunch. I'd hear somebody say something. A very nice example, which I'm actually quite proud of, is sorry, you said you got to go, but let me just finish this one. No. Very large machine moving type company, make machines that move stuff around. They had a diesel mechanic workshop training center. Their plant in Lovo, I think. No, not in Lovo, don't be fool. Near the airport in Johannesburg. And I heard 2 of the guys talking at lunchtime that it's so sad that they can't get work for their technicians, and we were buying a lot of equipment from them. I went and I made a few phone calls and found out that we were struggling to get well-trained diesel mechanics for some of our mines, and offered that as an incentive to work more closely with us. One short phone call, one moment of listening, the right time. But that's the type of thing that I used to be able to utilize or deploy when things got to we're just not seeing eye to eye. If you could, an insignificant thing, it cost them nothing. It actually gave us a huge advantage because the technicians were working on the machines that we were using. They'd been trained on them. Yes. So it gave us an advantage. It gave them public appeal. It was all they got out of it. They could now claim that 80% of their trained mechanics, whatever they call them, technicians or engineers, or whatever they call them, 80% of them are now gainfully employed on qualification, which to them was a big thing. It was very important. To us, all we got was good mechanics.